Hello, and welcome to the Whistleblower Experience with Danielle. For today's podcast and recording, I decided that I am going to answer some of the most frequently asked questions concerning TTP1. If you recall, in my last podcast, I talked about how the financial systems could be used to retaliate against whistleblowers. And specifically, I went into detail about creating of a false title search report. So some of the most frequently asked questions that I received, the first one was, what inspired you to write this book? Well, I was inspired to write this book because I wanted to document what happened to me, to my family, and to my friends, and to talk about the things that were still happening. I became very concerned when certain incidents started being fabricated or created. And the two instances that I referenced was the one where that traffic ticket was created, and the other one was the title search report that was created and it contained false information. When those instances started happening and others like that, that told me that I needed to start documenting everything that was occurring in my life and anyone in my social circle. I didn't get where I really started writing the book until after I started getting some of the judgments or rulings in the court cases that I had filed, and when I reached out to various oversight bodies, both at the federal and state level, and inspector generals, and even Congress, and I couldn't get any help from any of those entities. Therefore, I thought it would be best if I just wrote a book. And writing the book and self-publishing it, that gave me the option to be able to tell my story and not have it filtered and not have it to not have it filtered and to not have it watered down by anyone. I could tell my truth as it is and as it happened. The second question that I was most frequently asked was if it was legal for a company to produce a report that contained false information and to distribute it. Based on my research, no, it should not be legal. However, the response that I have gotten, especially from the federal and state entities to whom I have reported this incident, they don't seem to want to pursue it at all. Therefore, my assumption is that they are considering that to be a legal action. They haven't necessarily said it was, but they are not willing to move on it or to do anything about it. The third question I got, which was very similar to the second question, was if I filed a report with the federal government. And their answer is yes. I filed with both federal and state government. From my recollection, I never got a response from the federal government. However, the state response was very, I'll say, dismissive, and they answered a question that I never asked. The response I got, and I'm paraphrasing, is, oh, it's okay for the title company to ask you for more information. And when I went back to them, I told them, I said, that's not the question I asked. And that's not the complaint that I filed. I filed a complaint concerning them producing a false report and then distributing it. They never responded to that specific complaint. So right now, I have requested a hearing My request was accepted. We're waiting to hear back for a court date. And it has been several months. It's still waiting for them to set up a court date to discuss the issue. Once I get any type of resolution, I will definitely let people know what the response would be or what the response was. The fourth question I got asked was, is this considered fraud? And based on my research, yes, it is considered fraud. As I have been going through this process, I learned that there are three basic tenets of fraud. The first one is that the information and the action had to be incorrect or wrong. So we met that first tenet. The second one is that the action had to be intentional. We met that tenet of or that aspect of fraud because that information never belonged to us, that someone had to go out, search for incorrect information, and then put it in the report and credit it to us. So it was an intentional act. It wasn't something that happened by accident. Someone had to do that. Now, the third tenet is where our particular case or my particular case would be considered a novel case. What I learned was that typically the person who took an action off the false information, that they're the ones that would file a lawsuit claiming fraud. Now, even though we were impacted by this action, unless we waited at least a year and had some severe financial repercussions to this action, we would be considered a novel, or our case would be considered novel. Again, this is why, and if the two entities, the title company and the lending institution, were working in cahoots, the lending institution would not bring a lawsuit against the title company because they were doing basically what they wanted, which is what I believe, and it was happening at the behest of a third party, the federal government. That is what I believe. And if they're all working together, I would not, they could do this action and there would be no repercussions. This is why, as I stated before, I believe that this is a very effective TTP and things like that, because for the person who's being impacted to really have a strong case, they have to wait until something extraordinarily bad happens to them. Even though the person could be wrong, or they've done or they're being harmed in some way or defamed, you have to wait until some time has passed before you could have a strong case. The fifth question I was asked was, well, can't you sue? And I have done that. There's a pending lawsuit. However, because my claim is novel, or it's considered a novel way of interpreting the law, I'm not sure how this will work out. We're working through the process now, and we're going to see how things rule or how things work out in the end. But I have sued, and we will see what happens. The sixth question I was asked is, why hasn't anyone been held accountable for this action? And to be honest, I don't know. I really don't know why no one has been held accountable for this. I'm going to do my part to make sure that it is known that this has happened and who were the parties that were involved. However, if federal entities and state entities, if they're not willing to act, it's up to the citizens of the states, the citizens of America, to demand that some action be taken, that laws be changed or implemented to ensure that this doesn't hurt or happen to anyone else. And which is my goal now, to both educate people or the public as to what has happened to me, and then get some type of momentum where we're able to change laws, or I should say, where the law catches up to technology and these new tactics that are being implemented. And the last question that I was asked was, is this similar to what has happened to the former president, President Trump? No. I'm not going to get into a political debate about what has or hasn't happened to him or to anyone else. What I will say that I feel is unfair or unjust in my case is that I haven't been able to get Congress or any of the other entities, federal oversight entities in federal state, to give my allegations any serious matter. They won't investigate. They won't give me, in my opinion, any time of day. What I want to say, what somewhat upsets me, or really, I guess the best word I can use is to kind of disgust me about what I'm seeing in the news, is that in this current Congress, there has been much lip service given to, quote unquote, the weaponization of the federal government, how these certain things have been happening. And even though I've reached out to them several times, provided documentation, I can't even get an acknowledgement of my claims, let alone someone investigating them or even asking me for additional information so that they could look into the matter at all. So, no, it's not similar to what he's going through and or Biden or anyone else. To me, it appears that regular folks like myself are getting the short end of the stick. We're unable to get any type of investigation or acknowledgement into the claims that we have. That only if I had a certain last name, or if I, especially within Congress, if I tried to say that I'm being retaliated against because I'm conservative. And I won't do something like that because I believe that my claims are merited. They deserve an investigation based off what I am alleging and the documentation that I can provide to support the claims that I'm making. And that should be enough to warrant an investigation. But that's it. That's more all of the questions that, or let's just say the frequently asked questions that I had. Please keep them coming. Next month, I will talk about a completely different TTP. And again, feel free to continue to send me questions or any other topics that you would like to cover. Thank you.